right, good morning, everybody. We're going to reconvene in open sessions. We'll begin with Commissioner's report. Commissioner Kiefer, would you begin?
Nothing today, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Schmidt.
Just wanted to say I went with some people from our business development team to a meeting on the opportunity zones last week. It was well attended. We got a lot of information. Hopefully we can continue moving forward in that direction with the opportunity zones in the city and, well, in Williamsport also throughout the county. And just as a fun reminder, this Saturday is the Arc of Washington County's Dancing with the Stars. It's a fun event here in Washington County and raises money for a great cause. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, reach out.
Commissioner Baker, any comments?
No comments today.
Right. Commissioner Wagner.
Good morning. Yeah, it's morning still. Wanted to thank staff for Project Warm Burner. It was I attended. It was to me it was a huge success. So I'll get that out of the way, and then I wanted to follow up on something Rob and Sarah. I think you started working on this, Rob, but a while back I had asked you for vacancies and employees and where the money's at and general questions. I know you'd started working on it because you showed me that. I wanted to, from the luncheons we attended, the word at the luncheons is everybody's short. And I just wanted to see if we could exactly see what departments are short or in the process of hiring, and the ones that haven't been hired, where is that excess money at? I just like to get and for Sarah to see where we stand financially right now, because we, in our sessions, we talk a lot about spending money. So it would help me make better decisions if I knew what our finances were. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. For my report, I wanted to congratulate Zach Eby, Eagle Court of Honor, over the weekend. Also in Williamsport, there was a big event, the closing services of Rehoboth Methodist Church in Williamsport. They had their opening service ceremony out on Lappins Road. The facility is beautiful with over 400, 500 people in attendance that day. Congratulations to that vision that church has had for the future. I did attend the Chamber 100th anniversary meeting. It's great to see that enthusiasm amongst our chamber members and the business community. Another thing with Children's Village, Meredith reestablished their facility out there for the students to learn as they go through Children's Village. And I want to echo the thoughts of Warm Burner. I was there for the breakfast part of the trip, and a lot of the folks I met were eager to do that, so it was well received. And I congratulate them for the staff for putting that together. They highlighted what was best about Washington County and economic development. So again, Rob, all those, make sure they know that we all have that feeling for that. And that concludes my report. Next, I'd like to go to reports from county staff. Please come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Deborah Kondo, Deputy Director of Human Resources. I am here to request permission to advertise for the position of Senior Plan Review Floodplain Manager. This is a position, grade 15, step 1, annual salary $59,634. It's in the Department of Plan Review and Permitting. Work location, the Administrative Annex. It is an exempt status position. The position is budgeted. It will report to the Director of Plan Review and Permitting, who will also approve the timesheet. It is scheduled for 40 hours per week. This person will replace Mark Stransky, who resigned September 13th, 2019, who was at a grade 15, step 13 position.
Commissioners? You need a motion to advertise?
Yes,
Make
sir.
the motion to advertise.
I have first and second. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
I vote. Thank you. Any other reports from county staff? Please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Kristen Grossnickel, Court Administrator, Washington County Circuit Court. I'm coming here today. The Family Services Coordinator position is a county position paid through state grant funds. This position currently requires a minimum education of a high school diploma and is classified as a grade 11. The job description for the position has been revised by our office to change the minimum education to a bachelor's degree and to more accurately reflect the job functions. We're asking for approval of the revised job description and that the classification be changed to a grade 13. The current Family Services Coordinator is currently at a grade 11, step 8, with an annual salary of $52,104. With a reclassification to a grade 13, the current coordinator would be at a step 6 with a new salary of $57,824, which is an increase of $5,720. Per the Maryland Judiciary's Department of Juvenile and Family Services, any increase, the grant would fully support the resulting salary and fringe increases at the time of reclassification.
Commissioners, are there any questions or comments or a motion to approve the job description?
I'd motion to approve the reclassification of the job description of Family Support Service Coordinator.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second? First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, I ask for a vote for approval. All in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other reports from staff? Seeing none? We got one more. Oh, sorry, come on down. Please introduce yourself and good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you? Alex Reed, I'm the county's watershed specialist.
John Swagger, Stormwater Management Coordinator.
So we're pretty excited to be here today. We want to overload the system with our loud voice. As you all know, as a part of the Clean County Initiative that operates out of the Division of Environmental Management, the street sweeper operations that we've had ongoing since January have been super successful. And we're here today to report that we've reached over 1 million pounds swept. Just so everybody understands what that means in terms of pollution reduction, not only is that like, your gravel and grit off the roadways, but that's also a large amount of trash and debris that our Clean County technicians, who are at the end of the day, are responsible for the work getting done. And if you two would just rise, Mike and Al Wetzel, those are the two who are out there every day getting after it. Yeah, boys. So they're out every day getting after it, and whenever it's stupid hot and wet, they're the ones out getting it done. So it's been amazing, getting everything done. That's 1 million pounds of debris that isn't getting into the streams, so that helps us meet all of our stormwater goals and all of the Chesapeake Bay pollution reduction goals. That's very expensive, but we've been getting after it in a very cost-effective way. Just so everybody sort of has some context, like 1 million pounds is the equivalent of 2.5 statues of Liberty. So that's not an insignificant pile, and that's only been ongoing since January. So that's something we think is awesome news that we're pretty excited to share with everybody.
So that's one machine did that? We only have one, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have one dump truck that works with it so the truck can stay out. It doesn't have a lot of travel time. Right. Once he's full, he dumps into the dump truck. One of the Clean County techs takes it to the landfill. So everything is documented. So whenever the state or EPA would show up and say, really, 1 million pounds? Like, let me see the receipts. We can put them down.
500 tons, right?
520
yeah, 500
tons.
Yeah.
Yep.
So going, one machine did that. Good deal.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been an interesting experience, but we've had a lot of success working with other departments. Want to give a huge shout out to the highway departments. Dump trucks go down, machinery breaks, and they've been awesome stepping up and providing us with a dump truck when available. Even the Department of Water Quality's maintenance staff who've really come out, like they've gone a long way towards helping us out. Machinery breaks, just part of the business, but we've been able to make do and pretty excited with the progress so far.
That was pretty good. Rob, that was your brainchild, wasn't it?
It was, it was a creation of staff got together, yes.
Yeah.
So There's lots of approaches to this. We were trying to get two wins or 3 wins out of this, what the MDE required of us. The other big advantage, I think we've had a number of testimonials from people where we've been out on the street and they've said we've never seen it swept or cleaned.
No,
And
for sure.
people have been very pleased to see firsthand that type of attention to where they live. So.
No, absolutely. It puts county resources in the neighborhoods, and actually, a lot of people who maybe don't see the types of stuff that's happening, because it's everything the county does a lot of times is behind the scenes. They only, residents really only notice when the streets don't get plowed or, that type of stuff. But we're out there every day in the neighborhoods and actually making, providing aesthetics, the beautification of the neighborhoods, and people really do appreciate that. And we hear it all the time. I mean, it's weird to get phone calls from people saying thank you, but we've gotten like many of those, and that's always, a pleasure. And again, it's all part of the guys who are out there doing it every day. And I mean, of course, John Swager has been more than integral in, facilitating the program, managing the program, and he's kind of the man, this guy. So
With that, I'd like to say that this is a team effort, and many people in the county have had a hand in us standing this program up. Commissioners, obviously, to Rob for his encouragement, Dan DeVito, entire division of environmental management, departments of maintenance, operations, solid waste, and collections, public relations team, obviously, budget and finance for helping us out, our GIS office, the division of engineering, and Alex mentioned our highways department as well. I'd like to give them a big shout.
heck yeah. Good stuff.
And upon conclusion of your meeting today, the truck's going to take a lap for a demo around
I'd
Washington.
like to show you a before and after. So what the
We
street
ride
looks
that in
like.
a mummers parade, is there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One other caveat to this is that the gentlemen that run the truck and the sweeper, it's not just stay in the cab. The way the position description was written is if you see trash, or if it's too cold to pick up trash and we have a salt spill or something, you go out there and you actually clean up things. And if we get a call that there's a garbage bag or whatever it is, it's all about Clean County, not just in the truck, but they get out. And I got to say, these two gentlemen, they're in the gallery. They have done that, gotten out of the vehicle, picked up things, and I think that's what goes a long way in what the citizens see. It's not just an operator, but it's somebody who cares about what we're trying to do. So.
Yeah, water quality is great and all, but at the end of the day, people seeing that their neighborhood is being taken care of, like that's where that's what really counts. So we appreciate all the help and everything you all have done to help. So
Thank you.
absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your
Appreciate the update. Is there any other reports from county staff?
One item.
Okay,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Commissioners, if you recall, the commissioners, as part of the budget hearing, set the rates and fees charged by the Department of Water Quality. And the way that is done is the commissioners adopt a resolution that has the fees and rates attached as a schedule to the resolution. It has come to our attention that there were some errors in the rates that were set forth in the resolution. They didn't reflect what the intention of the commissioners were. Working with Sarah's department, we have corrected those and have put together a curative resolution that restates and republishes what the rates are as intended by the commissioners. Because it's recorded, we need to adopt a curative resolution. There needs to be a formal action to adopt it and correct the error. So we have prepared that resolution and would ask for a motion to adopt a curative resolution regarding the establishment and statement of rates and charges for the Department of Water Quality.
So how does that affect my vote if I didn't support the budget?
I mean, really, this is just to adopt the curative resolution. It doesn't change the rates. It's meant to establish that the rates are what were intended by the commissioners. There were some typos in the form that was attached to the resolution and then posted to the website.
Commissioners, any more questions? What were the mistakes in the rates? higher, lower?
Yeah, the discrepancy, if I'm correct, Kirk, was that the rates that the legal department had were higher than what was actually approved by the commissioners. So
So the rates in this resolution
to modify the resolution, those rates are now lower.
lower.
Yeah, correct, Kirk,
How's that?
for the water department.
That's correct. They haven't actually been billed at the wrong rates.
No one has been billed in
Good,
error.
good.
That's correct.
Thank you, Fred.
Glad we cleared that up.
All right, Commissioners, with that information,
I'll make a
any other
motion to
questions?
approve the corrected resolution.
Okay, I have motion for the corrective resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
First and second, any other discussion? Call for a vote to approve. All say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Any other staff in the audience for a report? If not, go to you. And then Rob, would you finish up with any? Thank you.
I have the Hagerstown Regional Airport Advisory Commission wishing to appoint John Barr to serve an unfulfilled term through January 31st of 2020 due to the resignation of a former member on the advisory committee.
Commissioners' comments or motion to approve?
I motion to approve the addition of John Barr to the committee.
Okay, but first, is there a second? First and a second, any more comments? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0.
Thank you. I also wish to make several appointments to the Washington County Community Organization Funding Committee, which would be, I would like a vote to appoint Brenna Ranelli to serve a first term October 1st, 2019 through March 31st, 2023. She would serve as Commissioner Court Management representative. I would like to appoint Mr. Richmond Lee Downey to serve October 1st through 2019 through March 31st, 2023 as Commissioner Randall Wagner's representative. I would like to reappoint Mr. Alan Mullendore to continue to serve or adjusting his terms due to the bylaws being rewritten to run with your terms. To reappoint Alan Mullendore to continue to serve through March 31st, 2023 as Commissioner Wayne Kiefer's representative, and to reappoint Jada Schwartz as Commissioner Terry Baker's representative to serve through March 31st, 2023, and to reappoint Mary Tao to continue to serve as President Jeffrey Klein's representative through March 31st, 2023.
Commissioners?
A motion to approve all the appointments.
There's a first and a second. Any additional comments? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0. Thank you. Krista, anything else? Okay. Sarah, please.
Thank you. I've asked, what was that? Oh, I have asked Brandy Noggle from our purchasing department as well as Rick Curry to come down today, her supervisor, because I'd like to extend a job well done to Brandy for her role serving as chair for the 2019 NIGP area conference that was hosted by MPPA, Maryland Public Procurement Association. She handled all of the details for the conference and the event, from registrations to hotel coordinations, from setting up the speakers, and coordinated everything. She did a fabulous job. And Washington County was well represented. She had speakers from our local area. Francis Carden, who is a local vendor with Tischer and Associates, he spoke on bonding. Heather Gesford from the Chamber of Commerce Board, and our own Kirk and Kendall spoke on Public Information Act requests. And so it was a very successful event, and she put a lot of hard work into it. So I just wanted to thank her for that and recognize her today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Administrator Slocum, comments from you?
Yeah, I'm excited to have Miss Carolyn Brooks here. She is in the agenda later, but I wanted to point out the character counts. I believe the entire month is character counts. So I want to start with this meeting to kick that off. Excited to have Carolyn and our banner here, or her banner here, for character counts. Worm burner, there was a lot of work put into that, so thank you, commissioners, for acknowledging that. That was, I believe, well over 40 outside developers and so forth that gained additional interest in Washington County. Obviously, part of that is to raise revenue so we can provide additional county services. And Stotler Road, two things that have happened. Staff has been out there, myself included. I do believe there is an additional sign posted to indicate to commercial vehicles not to turn down Stotler Road unless that is actually their destination. There was some confusion about I-81 traffic southbound getting on Stotler Road. We have, I believe, already installed that additional sign. We have also increased the pavement marking widths for that, which should help delineate the shoulder of the road. Quite frankly, the shoulder is fairly narrow. There's embankment on both sides. We will be looking long-term at CIP project, which may be able to add some street lighting or something. So that will take a little bit longer, but for the meantime, we did get the pavement markings out there. In addition, staff, it's in your agenda here, staff has asked Mr. Todd Hershey to come in and present additional information on the trailer tax. So that will be in your agenda. That was a fairly quick work by staff and Mr. Hershey's office to get together some information to be more informative and transparent in that approach. Finally, MDOT meeting, second to finally. MDOT meeting was held Thursday. Very good feedback we received. In fact, we received from the governor's office through Mr. Mark Widmeyer, the annual request for capital request is coming up. So if you can recall, one of our requests to MDOT was to consider for our public safety training building that they consider additional funding to that. Again, last year we had a capital request for enhanced funding for that. It did come through the delegation, and I think Senator Serafini was quite a lead in that, as well as Delegate Wyville. So we will be asking again for additional consideration to add the addendum, which is already potentially under the contract or under the request for bids, up to $2 million, so we can enhance the training and crash clearance efforts on our interstates as well as other roads, but primarily our interstates for the safety of the traveling public as well as the emergency responders that are out there. So I will have that forwarded, prepared, and presented to you, Commissioner, shortly. And finally, yes, sir, I will have a report form for the positions and what has happened over the last 2 years or so.
Rob, one of the things at MDOT was mentioned by Scott Hobbs, who did an excellent job, by the way, and Mr. Sarin with public transit, mentioned the loss of economic development with those backups is into the hundreds of thousands of dollars per incident. Right. And one of the estimates, I believe, to widen 81 completely with the wish list was $291 million. When you begin to add these daily crashes and economic loss factors up, that may be a wise decision to widen 81, not just for public safety, but to further enhance our economic development.
It's those types of projects that have multiple wins on return. So yes, economic development, public safety, tourism, all those fantastic things come from better flow on the interstates. Dependability of the interstate system is quite large, and the fuel and titling tax revenues that come from those interstates is quite large, and we were hoping to get some investment back on that.
A week or two, there was a crash in all of Washington County. It was hindered by traffic leaving 81 with GPS going through Smithsburg, Williamsport, Hagerstown. So there's a lot of need for that widening and that emphasis on that project.
That's right.
All right, thank you to you and staff for that presentation at MDOT that day. Are there anybody else, staff, that I've missed that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, I'd like to go to citizens' participation. Anyone in the first row, please come forward and name and address, and thank you.
Hello, my name is Roger Vincent at 16845 Longfellow Court.
And my name's Stephen McDonough, 16906 Pickwick Lane, Hagerstown.
I'll start out first today. First of all, Mr. Slocum, thank you for the quick response on the Stotler Road. The markings are very apparent. The walkway is very narrow. It's about like this from the railing to the line. You got a wider line, which helps, and it's bright, and that's great. We get one or more 18-wheelers down that road every day for, that want to go on 81, but they miss the turn and they turn early. The signs coming up the hill from down by Pilot, they see the ones, they may see the one sign, they see to turn right, they take the first turn. So we get one or more 18-wheelers per day down in there, so.
And that is one of the things that I just spoke to, is we've added an additional sign in that island, because exactly what you were saying, and President Klein had mentioned it as well, coming up the hill, it's not clear. So we tried to clear it.
That
Yeah, 'cause
signage
I've been out
is
there
up.
watching, they're looking down on their GPS, looking
Yeah.
around, they start to make that turn and they're committed already.
Right.
And that little island may prevent them from the overcorrection.
Right.
So that's some, and I thank you for going out there personally, looking at that.
Yeah.
And that signage is up, by the way.
So, on to what we came for here is the well-known by now, trailer tax. We'd like to, we gave you a list before, of all of the places which you already have, of places that you tax, okay? Every one of them, it was a trailer park. Not one of them was a trailer tax, a park that had trailers. KOA has trailers. They pull trailers and they park them there, as these are people traveling, recreational vehicles, fifth wheels, all those kind of things are trailers, and they should be taxed. You aren't taxing them, I don't think. If you're looking for a way to replace money, there it is. Because you got KOA and Yogi Bear and a bunch of other ones that you could tax that you're not taxing. Those people are coming and enjoying Washington County, but you're getting no money for it.
And they actually fit the description of the tax definition also.
So I've given you two of my personal reports. These are a letter that we receive every single year. I've lived there 14 years, and I get one of these letters every year from the Lakeside Associates. Lakeside Village has to notify me when they increase my rent. They have to do it in writing, 60 to 90 days in advance, and this is how they do it. And if you notice right on there, which I highlighted for you, it says Washington County rent tax, and then when it says tax, they don't know which it is. So on the 2018 one, which is one that has all the chicken scratches on it, which is my wife's way of noting she paid and what check number it was, okay? So we keep track on this one, but my rent was $426. When I started there 14 years ago, my rent was $250. They raise it every single year. So your tax increase is every year. You're getting more money every year because our rent goes up every single year. It doesn't stay the same. They don't say, okay, no tax increase, or no rent increase this year. They increase it, and they give no reason for the increase. They just increase it. They don't say, well, we provided this and this and this for you, so now, and actually what they did is they decreased. They used to pick up yard waste, trees and bushes and whatever, grass cuttings, and take to the landfill. They no longer do that. At the same time, they increased our rent again. So then the tax, which is 15% of the rent that went up, goes up. So we pay out of our pocket the rent and the tax. So my rent went from one year $489.90 to starting in November, my rent will be $510.60. I am on Social Security and Navy retirement. Set amount, I get no more. So that means I'm going to pay $20.70 a month more than I paid last year. Next year it'll be $24, $25 a month more, and then $28 to $30 more. I don't have the more. I can't get the more. So where does my money come from? So where it ends up to me, my outlook is that I'm going to be on welfare sooner or later because of this. I'll have to move out of my home. and go on welfare and go on public housing assistance. Do I want that? Yeah, absolutely not. Why would I want that? I want to stay as a bona fide resident paying my tax that I have to pay, but not this exorbitant 15% that goes up. And I know you guys can't do anything about it, but I'd sure like the state of Maryland to do something about control over rent. Because all the other people in this town that pay rent, there's a ton of rentals in this town, and I'm sure they go up all the time too. Do they get taxed? Do they have a 15% extra tax? No, they don't. Should I move to a rental out of my home? Okay, I have a nice home. I have a really nice home. 14 years old. I bought it, was 3 days old when they moved it on there. I would like to stay there. It's a beautiful place. We're trying to keep it a beautiful place. As they've added Section 8 into it, it's become not so beautiful a place. Because when you add Section 8, the crime goes up. We went from 1 visit by the police department per month to every single day. Multiple times the police come in there for something involved with a resident who's done something. So we would like you to get rid of this tax so we can spend the money elsewhere in the county. And you'll still get your money because we'll get the tax from where we spend the money. But that'll be our discretional money, not tax money. It'll be our discretional money will go up. Okay? That's what we're looking for. Thank you.
Benson, Mr. McDonald, would you have some comments? Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank you for the improvements on Stotler. The residents on our website do make comments that they'd like to have some type of walkway or lighting installed, but I'm sure you'll do what's necessary. Okay, but on to the mobile home tax. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be here for the 12:15 presentation, but I will be looking at it tonight online, okay, from YouTube. Okay, but I want to point out some things about this. This is not 1963 when this law went into effect, okay? There's a clear delineation between the difference between a manufactured housing community and a campground. It's recognized in 1976 when HUD installed the standards about the mobilization and recognized that these homes are being placed on the permanent lots, okay? Now, again, reinforcement. I could move my trailer to a campground and not get paid that fee because you aren't taxing the individuals that this tax is clearly written for. Okay, it's hidden. We're paying it. Okay, and I'm sure you guys know we're paying it. Mr. Hershey in his letter recognizes that we're paying it. Delegate, what is his name?
Parrott, I believe, wrote a letter, or
Okay.
the Delegate Parrott.
I'm sorry. I forgot his name. My mind's not the way it used to be. Parrott. Okay. Delegate Parrott recognizes it also. He says it's clearly legal that it's being done that way, as it's coming up as a single line item. And he adds that it adds to the transparency of the law. Okay? Makes it very clear who's paying the tax, which is what we are. And I'm sure tonight, and I'm just taking a wild guess, that at 12:15 when this presentation comes off, it's going to be fiercely defended by your lawyers and by your chief financial officer. Okay? But here, I have 3 things I have to say about the tax in reference to how it's being handled other places. And by other places, I mean Anne Arundel County, Howard County, and Baltimore County. Okay? First of all, 15%, which is what we're being charged. Baltimore County is 7% with a $20 a month cap. Anne Arundel County 7.5% with a $25 cap. Howard County, 10% on the first $3,600 in rent, followed by 5% over $3,600. Okay, and they've all repealed this tax. And by the way, it's in the same amount of money that we're paying in. They've repealed the tax, losing $600,000 a year in revenue because they consider it unfair and double taxation, a double dip. Okay, now moving along. They also, their laws, there's no pretense about who's paying the law or who's paying the tax. Okay. Collected by mobile home licensing means the mobile home park licensee shall collect 1/12 of the annual mobile home site rental tax each month from each renter of a mobile home site in the park. Collections. The owner or operator of the mobile home park shall collect the tax from the person renting the space in a mobile home park and shall remit the tax to the controller on or before the 25th day. There's no pretense in who's paying it. Okay? The renters are paying that tax. The renters in these 3 counties where it's been repealed, at least we're told they can do it. They know they can claim it on their taxes as a federal deduction. We cannot claim it on our taxes as a deduction. Okay, our names are not associated with this tax in anywhere, any place. We're not on the tax rolls. There's no receipts given monthly that we're paying a tax. There's no recognition by the county that we're paying a tax. So, and it's clear, we are paying the tax. Okay. Now, what I'd like to say is, again, you got 16 communities paying over $600,000 a year. Goes up every year depending on how much people's rent goes up. Okay, it's no more, it's a backdoor approach to taxing real property or personal property as a real property. And that's what it's referred to, by the way, by Mr. Hershey in his letter. Okay, now, in closing, what I want to say is that a lot of residents in our community and others have been there a long time, many of them over 20 years, a large number of us fixed incomes, okay, same income, but with rising expenses, including this tax. We're faced with depreciation of the value of our homes while they're being taxed at a higher rate. Let's see. And of course, the county professes they want to take and have affordable housing. Okay, you can't have affordable housing when you get taxed at such a high rate. I pay $799.20 a year to have my home set on less than a 1/8 acre of property. If that were taxed at real value, I would be living on an $80,000 property. That'd be several acres in Washington County. Okay. Many of the homes in the park aren't anywhere near $70,000. They're probably closer to an average of maybe $30,000. You just you're taxing us, and we can't afford to pay the tax. There's a reason we live in a manufactured housing park. It's supposed to be less expensive. However, with your taxes and everything, it's not. We have some of, you would think they'd be affordable housing, but when you add this tax on of 15%, which should be $444 should be it, but it goes to $510, $66.60 a month you're taking out of people's pockets. It could be used for medical expenses, better grade of medications, more food, higher quality of food, lots of different things. And it's not being done, okay, because of this. And again, you're going to get the money back one way or another. It may not come back to you in the same percentage, but you're going to get it back in the sales tax. Yeah. And I think if you admit it, you know that if somebody slapped a tax on your home that's 15% additional, you're going to have to pay it. You're not going to be able to say it, especially if you have properties and everything. If you put a 15% of tax on all rental homes that have a garage, there isn't a person or a business that wouldn't be rushing home to check the leases on the properties they have to see when they're expired so they can pass that expense along to them. Either have them increase their rent by 15% or have them move out so that you can. Okay?
Gentlemen,
We're just asking you to repeal. I don't want to say repeal because, again, it could stay in place and you could collect the funds from the real, what it seems to be the intended targets, the campgrounds. But we would like you to repeal it as far as manufactured housing communities.
well, gentlemen, thank you for your comments today and input once again.
And again, we'll be looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other citizens who'd like to come forward? Seeing none, we will move on to character counts. Carolyn Brooks, would you bring you and guests up to the front here and introduce everybody and some remarks before we have a proclamation for you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us again. With me today are two coalition members, hi Derek, Helen Huffer and Dr. John Davidson, both coalition members. And as mentioned before, October is Character Counts Month, and we're really pleased that our banner is in your chambers, and hopefully we can leave it all month for folks to be reminded of what the 6 pillars of character are. Our coalition formed in 1999, and that's when we became national members of the Character Counts National Institute. We're an all-volunteer coalition, and it's made up of youth and educators and community members, and we're always looking for new members to add to our coalition because with the work we're doing, we're being spread kind of thin. We've got maybe 12 members of our coalition that are active, and we invite and would like for many more people to join us. Some of the activities that we've done in the past are having conversations in the community, and the conversations are usually driven by things that are happening in the community. For example, we had a conversation between law enforcement and the community where opinions were shared back and forth of perceptions of each other, and it was a lively conversation. Some of the other things that we do during the course of the year, we do make presentations. We're invited to speak to different groups, and we'll speak to a group of 3 as well as easily as a group of 300, and we enjoy those opportunities. One thing that we do annually is offer scholarships to 4 graduating students from Washington County schools. And it's interesting to read those applications because often you hear about young people who have managed to get themselves in trouble, but you don't hear about those students that are doing wonderful things in the community. And this is an opportunity for us to look at those applications, and it's amazing. You know, it's really hard to pick 4 out of the many that we get, but again, it's an opportunity to shine a light on positive things in our community. We also do an elementary recognition each year, and it's a red carpet event, and some of you have attended in the past. And it's an opportunity to shine a light on young people, elementary students that are doing, are modeling the 6 pillars of character. We have a lending library that's available at my office at the Head Start building on North Avenue. Other resources are outdoor banners, and I'm hoping that you've seen them in the different school complexes and campuses. And we have a newsletter that we publish monthly, and it's part of what I'm sharing with you today, some of the materials. The theme for Character Counts Month is kindness. We're constantly talking about doing random acts of kindness. And I think in the material I gave you, there's an idea of 40 random acts in case you can't think of anything nice to do. We try to prompt people. Folks don't understand that something as simple as a smile is a random act. We are making an ask again this year. This would be the third year that we do our May event where we do recognize one elementary student from each of the schools in our school system. Thank you for your support the last 2 years. This is something that we revitalized from back in 2011 when we had our last event, and then 2 years ago, with your help, we were able to do this event again, and it was greatly appreciated by the parents and the students, and it was just an enjoyable event. So hopefully we would, respectfully, we would like to ask for the support of the county commissioners once again to have this event in May. So with that, I answer any questions anybody would have.
Anyone else would like to comment?
I'm the supervisor of school counseling for Washington County Public Schools, and I appreciate the support from Character Counts and that the support they give to our school system and honoring our students who are doing great things throughout the school year.
Thank you.
When I retired as an administrator from the Washington County Public Schools, one of the things I stayed with for the past 10 years is the Character Counts Coalition, because I believe strongly in what we are supporting and trying to get out to the community. And when you look at the 6 pillars on the banner over there, I think it's important that we promote those 6 pillars and try to spread that word throughout the community. And I think if we could all get on the bandwagon and do the same thing, it would make a difference in our society.
You would join me over by the banner by proclamation. Three times in 1 week. Please. Can we move? First of all, thank you for a reminder for all of us to be kind today. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we'd like to present this proclamation for Character Counts Month, October 2019. Whereas young people will be the stewards of our communities, nation, and world in critical times, and the present and future well-being of our society requires an involved, caring citizenry with good character. And whereas concerns about the character training of children has taken on a new sense of urgency as violence by and against youth threatens the physical and psychological well-being of the nation. And whereas more than ever, children need strong, constructive guidance from their families and their communities, including schools, youth organizations, religious institutions, and civic groups. And whereas the character of a nation is only as strong as the character of its individual citizens, and the community benefits when young people learn that good character counts in personal relationships, in schools, and in the workplace. And whereas character development is first and foremost an obligation of families through efforts by faith communities, schools, and youth, civic, and human service organizations also play an important role in supporting family efforts by fostering and promoting good character. Every adult has the responsibility to promote the development of good character. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, do hereby recognize October 2019 as Character Counts Month and encourage our citizens, schools, business, and government to support Washington County's Character Counts program. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners presented this day, thank you for all your service. Thank you. Now may I ask you to join the commissioners for a photograph up front. Commissioners, would you please join?
Everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Proposed code adoption. Rich Eichelberger, welcome, sir.
Yeah, we need to approve the 3,000. I make the motion to approve the $3,000 for the May event.
First and a second, all in favor? Aye, unanimous. Thank you for the reminder. Please proceed at your convenience, sir. You may introduce everyone.
Morning, Commissioners. Rich Eichelberger, Director of Construction, also County Code Official. To my left is Frank Quillen. He is our Chief Plans Examiner, also Deputy Code Official. And Ashley Holloway was scheduled to be here today, but he's out for a training session. So Rebecca Gander is here in his place. Commissioners, we're here this morning to recommend a consensus to move forward with the advertising and public hearing of the proposed adoption of the 2018 Maryland Building Performance Standards, the 2018 existing building code, trade codes, local amendments thereto, and related ordinances and resolutions. The 2018 code adoption, as required by the state of Maryland, include the state building code, state building performance standard and Washington County local amendments. Local amendments allow for some modifications to the new codes for consistency and coordination with customers as well as external agencies. As with prior cycles, the 2018 building code review was performed by a committee approved by this board in February for this year, consisting of various government, design, and construction representatives. The committee met once a week for several months, actually beginning in March, and I think we finished the end of June, beginning of July, might have even ran into August. Is that correct? So quite a few hours there. Met to review hundreds of pages, if not thousands of pages of code. The purposes of the review was to consider safety, consistency, common sense, and customer service across agencies in the proposed amendments. Proposed amendments that have been drafted for the board's consideration, public notice, and implementation. The amendments are largely similar to prior amendments submitted and approved. Fee schedule has been reviewed by the permitting staff and found to be in line with surrounding jurisdictions and is proposed to remain unchanged at this time. There are several members of the Code Review Committee. I'd like to recognize all the committee, but especially those in attendance today. Les Grimm with LS Grimm is here. We also had Mike Gear from Bushy Fight Morin, Dan Matonic from Matonic and Associates, Carl Vogel from Oliver Holmes, City of Hagerstown's representative, which is Blaine Mallon, their chief code enforcement officer there. Also from the State Fire Marshal's Office, Larry Eisminger, and then county staff included myself, Ashley Holloway, who is the Division Director of Plan Review and Permitting, Terry Pfizer, who is our Chief Building Inspector and Senior Plans Examiner, Becky Gander, Chief of Permitting, and our Administrative Assistant, Cammie Gordon, who's probably the hardest working person in this whole group because of the amount of time that she has had to spend putting all these documents together and putting up with my nitpicking of making sure that everything, all the T's and are crossed and I's are dotted. So unfortunately for her, she had some rewriting to do because I was trying to be very particular with it. So With that, any questions?
Commissioners, thoughts, comments? There's a recommended motion to move forward.
This is just with the advertising.
This is to advertise for the public hearing. And we would work with the county attorney's office to schedule all those for that meeting date.
There's a recommended motion to move forward with advertising.
Recommend motion to move forward with the advertising for the.
Already second. First and second, any other questions? Seeing none, motion to approve. Aye. A second? Need a motion, first motion to approve.
We had a second.
Okay, and a second. All in favor, say aye. I didn't hear that over that side. Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next, insurance claim for lighting at the 911 center. Lighting, excuse me. With them glasses, my glasses need tuned up. See my ear and my glasses all at the same time.
Morning.
Morning.
This agenda report form was submitted on behalf of a insurance claim for a lightning strike at the 911 center on July 6th. Hoping to recover my insurance claim money to put back into my budget. On July 6th, lightning strike occurred at the 911 center in LA Parkway. As a result, the automatic transfer switch on the generator was damaged, wouldn't allow backup power to kick on, only with manual intervention instead of automatically. Along with the transfer switch, 3 trans-tector surge protectors were damaged, which means they did their job. Furthermore, there were 2 TTR-based radio station power supplies that were blown, and we've detailed the cost of repairs. The generator alone was $10,291.66. The labor and parts for the electrician for the trans-tectors, $15,870.11, and then the Motorola power supplies themselves, $4,840. So the total was $31,001.77. The deductible of $5,000 came out of my budget, but I'm hoping to recover the additional $26,000 to go back into my budget.
Hey, Commissioners, any comments on the insurance claim for lightning?
So basically, let me get this straight. The insurance is going to pay you 26. You're trying to get your 5,000 back. Is that correct? Or
No. Initially, I paid the entire amount out of my budget.
I got you.
The $5,000, yes, I have to. That's going to come out of my budget, but I'm trying to recover the other
I got you.
$26,000.
So you already paid for it. We didn't get. Yeah. Okay. I got
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Second motion.
First and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote to approve. Aye. 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Chris Boggs, World Legacy easement.
Good morning. So here we've got the Todd Hershey Rural Legacy easement, 21.598 acres on Keysville Road. It's a pretty cool property. Of course, it's got the Little Antietam Creek runs right through the middle of it, and I think the most emphatic thing is that we've got the Pry Mill, historic Pry Mill. It's both on the Maryland Inventory of Historic Places as well as on a National Register site. It was a Union Field Hospital during the Battle of Antietam. It was General Meade's division headquarters briefly. And another little tidbit, it was General Mansfield dined in the house there right before, the night before the battle, and died on the field the next day. So that was where he had his last meal. It's down in Keedysville. It's close to thousands of preserved acres and rural legacy. And the nice thing about this project is it's going to serve to eat up almost all of our remaining FY19 grant. So we will have spent it all. The state likes that we spend it all. The Rural Legacy Program itself started back in '98, and since then we've been awarded over $22 million for purchase of easements. Got over 7,000 acres in the Rural Legacy Program at this point. And this is going to come from our FY19 grant in full. Of course, it's 100% state dollars, and we get the administrative and compliance funds go to the county associated with the program, 3% for admin fees and 1.5% for compliance costs. Essentially, you know, it's fully paid for by the state. If we don't use it, you know, they'll after the period of time they'll give it to somebody else. So the recommended motion would be to approve the project for $52,028.38. Any questions?
I'd motion to approve the Todd L. Hershey Rural Legacy Program.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good one.
Next up, donation of leftover food. Michelle Dwyer, please come forward.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm here today to provide some information based on a request on how food not consumed by after-school programs like the YMCA could be donated to local food charities. Through the research, the Washington County Health Department and the Maryland State Health Department stated there is no rule or law that states what a daycare facility can or cannot do with leftover individually packaged food. The Washington County Public Schools operate after-school programs offered through groups like the YMCA. The after-school program rules are set by the United States Department of Agriculture and then monitored by the Maryland State Department of Education. The handling of the food served to students but not consumed are covered under federal regulations and Maryland Health Department standards, as I'm going to review for you in these 3 bullet points. Per the federal regulations, wrapped, shelf-stable, no refrigeration needed items may be returned to the kitchen to be served later. Foods that are unwrapped should be discarded as they have been handled and may possess a food safety risk due to potential contaminants. Wrapped and heated or chilled items have to be monitored for time and temperature according to the health code standards before determining if they can be saved and reused or donated to another agency. Washington County Public School Food and Nutrition Services will review their food handling procedures and refine practices with the administration of the various agencies they partner with to ensure no unnecessary food waste. Do you have any questions?
This is great information. I guess my big question is, you know, so we're saying there's no rules and regulations because it's coming down to them that they're being told they've got to throw these away daily. And I just witnessed it again on Thursday, and they had this giant bucket of food, and they say, please take it or I have to throw it away, right on it. And it's everything from, you know, yogurts to fruit cups to, you know, milk and sandwiches. And they say after at 6 o'clock, they throw it away. And to me, that's just a complete waste because we have Micah's backpack programs, we have the food pantries, we have all these places that could use it, and they're being thrown away. And that's when I've asked them, they're saying, well, we're told.
Right, and this is through the school system, the after-school program?
This is an after-school program, yes.
So I think that requires some more follow-up with the school board on the specifics, and they may not have had a chance at this point to get out to all their agencies, right, to communicate that. So we should be able to see some changes.
And that's all I'm hoping is I'm glad, thank you very much for the research, but this is just something that I think it's wasteful.
Right,
so,
understood.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any other comments? Hearing none, thank you, Michelle.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Michelle for looking into this for us, and thanks for your help, Michelle.
Next up, intergovernment cooperative purchase armored tactical vehicle.
Now you're told.
Please come forward and introduce yourself. Curry, welcome.
Morning.
Mr. Knight, welcome.
Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Captain Mark Knight, Washington County Sheriff's Office. Morning, Commissioners.
Subject before the intergovernmental cooperative purchase for one armored tactical vehicle. Move to authorize a resolution to approve of the purchase for one Bearcat armored tactical vehicle for the Sheriff's Office from Linco Industries Incorporated of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, at a contracted price totaling $285,876, based on a contract awarded by Howard County, Maryland Office of Purchasing, solicitation number IFB 201-17. The purpose of the vehicle will be to replace a current used 2006 Bearcat unit. The vehicle is designed and can be used for off-road and rural missions if needed, and it also can have capacity to haul anywhere from 10 to 12 officers. The unit can be used in situations as a barricaded armor suspect, warrants, hostage situations, high-risk search, active shooters. And also you can see that in the previous unit that they have, it was used in the incident out in Smithsburg, when it also took fire, and no injuries were resulting of that because of that armor-plated vehicle. And the Code of Public Laws allows this board to enter into a contract that another jurisdiction was the lead agency on, and based on that solicitation, you can see the commercial pricing if we were to solicit a unit by itself, as opposed to purchasing a unit through this cooperative. The price of the savings is rather significant, and also you can see where the listed for the budget of $389,000 is in the Sheriff's Department's DAG fund budget, which are confiscated drug monies. And also you have the attachment of Linco's quote based on Howard County's contract.
Real quick question. Since you're saying this is replacing a vehicle, are we selling that vehicle?
Yes, we have two options with that. We can sell that vehicle, where that vehicle can be traded back to Lenco.
And funding's coming from drug
It's
confiscation money?
the DAG fund. It's completely drug confiscated money. That is, their, NTF drug,
You just gotta love a armored tactical vehicle. It's just like, but hope we never have to use it.
Well, and as he stated, in 2007, we actually did use the current one we had. It was shot 3 times by that suspect. So it's a valuable piece of equipment for Washington County.
Commissioners?
Motion to approve.
You have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
A first and a second. Any other conversation? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Be safe. Rick Curry, welcome back.
Hey, Josh from the Sheriff's Office. Good morning.
So before you enter government cooperative purchase for body-worn cameras, recommended motion to authorize a resolution to approve of the Axon Management System subscription that includes 58 body-worn cameras, licensing, evidence storage for the patrol division of the Sheriff's Department from Axon Enterprise Incorporated of Scottsdale, Arizona, at a contracted prices totaling $38,280 for the first year, based on a contract ordered by Maryland Department of DeWitt, solicitation number 060B249002. The cameras will be worn by the officers and for surveillance and whatnot, and providing efficiency in the operations of the department. You can see the pricing for years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, totaling $222,936. The department will need to budget for years 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the Code of Public Laws does allow this body to enter into a contract that was solicited by another jurisdiction. Also, you can see where the fiscal impact of where the monies are coming from to cover the cost for the first year, and also the quote from Exxon breaking down the pricing of the items to be on the subscription plan.
Commissioners, comments, thoughts?
A motion to approve the body cams.
A motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it, but I just have a question.
There's a second. Open for comments.
Just because I don't know, it's saying you're transferring 7,000 from account, blah. What is that exact account?
Sheriff's Alternative Fund.
Sheriff's Alternative Fund? And is that just a miscellaneous? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, any other questions? I have a first and a second. All those approved, say aye. Aye. 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, rejection of bid, circuit court, bullet-resistant glass. I think we have Mr. Kevin Tucker with us today. Welcome.
Good morning.
Again, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Pardon me. My name's Kevin Tucker. I'm the Clerk of Circuit Court.
Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering.
Subject rejection of bids PUR 1434 for circuit court bulletproof resistant glass and bullet resistant glass for the new circuit court room. Move to take action in the best interest of the county and to reject the bids for both the above referenced circuit court bullet resistant glass projects to be rejected due to the bids exceeding the budget. The bids were advertised we normally do in the local newspaper and the various websites. You can see the number of participants who downloaded the document. We're requesting that the bids be rejected and we take and modify the bids and then resolicit for pricing. And we're going to take and combine the two projects because at first they were two separate projects, but we're thinking that by combining these projects, we should get a better pricing with all the work being combined into one location. And you can see the bid matrix for the bulletproof resistant glass that exceeded the budget.
There you go. We got armored vehicles, bullet resistant glass, and all kinds of things. Yeah, I would motion to to do the rejection of bids and regroup on that one.
Second, I have first and second. Commissioners, any other conversation? All in favor to reject the bid, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Southern Boulevard, project closeout change order, Mr. Hobbs.
Good morning again. Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. I'm here to recommend that the board approve a change order, the final closeout change order for $92,262.46 for the Southern Boulevard project. Southern Boulevard project and alternate 40 Frederick Street intersection improvements were completed within the available budget. The project received $2.3 million in state funding for work at Frederick Street, and the change order relates to final adjustments of quantities. Contract value for C. William Hetzer will be increased accordingly. If this is approved, and the final change order will close out the construction project. The total budget for the project was $9,798,100 and is being completed for approximately $600,000 under budget. The construction was completed for $7,092,000, and this is a budgeted CIP. So again, a request to approve the change order for the final closeout of the project.
Commissioners, thoughts, comments? Just one quick question. The $600,000 under budget, that's a cost savings on that project.
That was our cost savings for the total budget in relation to the
Savings
project.
will be directed back into,
The savings will be directed to the capital excess reserve for future one-time expenditures.
very good, that's what I wanted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, there a motion?
Motion.
I have a second. First and a second, any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Hobbs.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Mr. Hobbs.
Yes, welcome. Wanted to see if Andrew is here.
Gare Shop Road.
So I'll start. We recommend that the board conditionally award the Garris Shop Road Water Trail Park contract to the lowest responsible bidder, Outdoor Contractors of Hancock, Maryland, in the amount of $93,157, which includes the base bid of $89,817 and an add alternate number 2 in the amount of $3,340. Conditional award is based on acceptance from the Department of Natural Resources for reallocation of program open space funds. The project was advertised in the Herald Mail, email marketplace, on the state's website. 4 bids were received and open on Friday, August 30th, and are listed in the agenda report. The bids have been evaluated, and the low bid from Outdoor Contractors is in order. The engineer's estimate for this work was $90,000.
and that's for the base bid and add alternate number 2. I'll let Andrew speak a little bit to the project. And
Sure. This is part of an ongoing project associated with the Antietam Creek Water Trail that was started a number of years ago, where there's various locations along the Antietam Creek that we're trying to establish public access for recreation, boating, that sort of thing. This came about really when we worked on the bridge, and the property owner who lived there was very gracious, Mr. Fox. And so we had the opportunity there not only to fix the bridge up, as well as the historic raceway, and acquired half an acre of land. And so this project moves forward with developing that into a small park. I know there's different area recreation groups, Antietam Rec, that looks forward to using this site. And as I said, it's part of an ongoing effort to develop recreational access along the Antietam Creek. So that's a little bit about the project. It'll have a couple parking spaces and then access to the creek for canoe and kayaking and tubing, that sort of thing.
Again, it's not for like modular homes, trailer park, it's for recreational access and use.
Yes.
That's the term park.
Yes.
And the funding, there was available cost savings from the Garris Shop Road Bridge project, so some funding to be utilized for that. And then also the POS funding, and we have the request in for that. And that's the conditional award, is making sure that goes through the proper channels.
Yeah, so part of what we're doing was there was a program open space project that had $45,000 of state grant available. We have another project with remaining funds, and so we're going to revert that balance to this project to use these state funds rather than turning them back in. So we have a good use for them.
Did we have to do anything with the DNR for that? Did you have to?
Yes, I mean, the Antietam Water Trail, we're partnering with DNR, and that's part of this entire project. Is there's some resources available that they'll provide, signage, publications, as well as once we get the water trail fully established, it makes it more attractive to other water improvement fund grants that they have available, as well as DNR is the overseer of the program open space program. And so there's a couple draft letters that we're prepared to send to them regarding transfer and allocation of the funds that we currently have available.
So what exactly is this going to cost the county? Because, I'm looking, we're getting $20,000 from the savings. We're getting
Yes.
$50,000 from PSO, the POS funding. That leaves about a $23,000 gap.
Yeah, the local funds that we have is about 25,000. So Scott mentioned we're pulling a portion of remaining funds that were left over from the bridge project while we work there. So there's local funds, and then the POS funds have a 10% match associated with them.
Yeah, but that's the 50 and the 20, that's $70,000, and we're looking at a $93,000 project.
Yeah,
So that extra 23 is coming from the county, not the overspending and not.
Well, we're going to spend the grant funds first.
Yeah.
And so the local funds will be used as matching funds. And if we have extra things, there's some things like signage, picnic tables, that sort of thing that we may add in. But we'll spend the, let's see, it's $96,000 worth of POS grant funds first. And then we have the 10% match associated with that. And then, like I said, we went ahead and reverted enough that we have a contingency, because this is a unit price contract. So if they do get in there and go over quantity or something, that there's available funds for that. So we're not right, on the mark where the bid was.
Okay, now, you said 96 of the.
Yeah, one was set for POS funding that Andrew's speaking about. 50 was designated for this Garris Shop project, 20 for local, and then there's additional that he's looking to revert back from another project.
Okay,
So
that's what I was missing.
There's an attachment that has the revised development application in there that has the breakdown of the local funds and the program open space funds, as well as the total project. So there's 25,000 of local funds. There was a $45,000 POS grant project that's already on the books, was approved. We're going to be reverting an additional $51,157 of POS funds from an unused project to get to our total project available balance of $121,000, even though the bid award that Scott's talking about is in the amount of $93,157.
So that 25,000 is coming from,
We have some already on the books for a capital improvement project for the Garashop Creek access, that's there. And so there'll be a transfer from the bridge project into that account. And we'll probably pay it out of the actual park CIP account.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Commissioners, any more comments? If not, in a motion?
Make the motion.
Okay, I have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
I have first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, a motion to approve. All say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Acceptance of dedicated land. Welcome back, Scott Hobbs and Mr. Moser.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator. Acceptance of dedicated land, label lane. Move to approve acceptance of dedicated property. The county requested a fee simple area consisting of approximately 0.774 acres from GTR Transport LLC, located on label lane at the time of site approval for the GTR facility. The site plan has been approved and the owner is ready to proceed with the conveyance of property at no cost to the county. The dedicated area will allow for future access.
Commissioners, comments? Motion?
Motion approved.
First and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Easement request. Next.
Okay, easement request, City of Hagerstown. Move to approve the conveyance of perpetual water line easement consisting of 13,859 square feet to the City of Hagerstown at 18404 Showalter Road. The city has requested a water line easement on the airport terminal parcel at 18404 Showalter Road. The water main easement was not retained by the City of Hagerstown when the city conveyed the property to the county. The main provides water to the airport terminal. The water division operates, repairs, tests, and maintains the water meter, vault, pipe, ensuring the terminal has service.
This is just basically an oversight being corrected.
This is just some housekeeping, correcting that, yes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and a second. Any other conversation, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Next, Bauer Avenue.
All right, acceptance of dedicated land intersection of Bauer Avenue and Virginia Avenue. Move to approve acceptance of dedicated property. Dollar General is relocating on Virginia Avenue, US 11, to the intersection of US 11 and Bauer Avenue. In accordance with the traffic impact study, the developer will be adding a dedicated northbound right turn lane at the US 11 and Bauer Avenue intersection. PTV 1001 LLC has agreed to dedicate 2,343 square feet of land to the county at 17213 Virginia Avenue.
Motion to approve. Second. First and a second. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, police recruitment and retention. Sergeant Sanders, please come forward.
Good morning.
Good
Morning, Sergeant Darrell Sanders, Washington County Sheriff's Office. Okay. This is a grant opportunity provided by the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention for local law enforcement agencies to offer financial incentives for certain people who may want to enter the career field of law enforcement. The Governor's Office is providing financial bonuses in the amount of $1,000 for persons who are bilingual, demonstrate bilingual proficiency, $1,000 for persons who hold undergraduate college degrees, and $1,000 for veterans. A second funding field for this is a referral bonus for current sworn law enforcement officers who recruit persons and get them successfully hired into a police academy with the Washington County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $500 per person. And lastly, there is a retention financial incentive for current sworn law enforcement deputies. Basically, it allows for providing money for uniforms, clothing, those sort of items. And we've decided to provide a $125 per person uniform boot allowance. The total grant request is going to be for $30,125.
So basically, we've, I think we just approved, or you're gonna give bonus to sign-on bonuses, I think, right?
Yes.
So then they can, if you're bilingual or veteran or whatever, you can get another grant from the governor, right?
Correct. Could be up to $3,000 if you qualify.
So if you qualified, could you get like triple duty to that? Like if I could speak another language and be a veteran, and so that would be, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yes.
I'd be a policeman, Terry.
Make it. You said it's pretty good.
A motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
First and a second, any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Emergency Number System Board. Please come forward and introduce yourself. Welcome.
Good morning, Allison Hartshorn, Office of Grant Management.
Brian Albert, Operations Manager of 911 Center. You want anything from Grant? Okay, we're, first thing up is for the support services, and we're going, asking to go before the numbers board to request $161,925.89, and that's for our maintenance contract right now with Motorola Solutions, and that will carry us through from this past October 1st through June 30th, and that's all our contract that we have with them currently. So the numbers board will be paying 100% of that, and that's what we'll be requesting from the numbers board.
Motion to approve the request.
First, is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
And the second, we will be doing we are due in the county for a total upgrade of our phone systems. It's called a Vesta system, but Motorola Solutions owns them now. And the last update we had was 2014, and this will be for $2,548,807.50, and that will be a total upgrade with support for 5 years. The hardware, software upgrade, which would be done by Motorola Solutions, $841,707.50. The implementation, project management, and training of the staff, $387,052.42. The software support and the managed services for 5 years, $768,502.50. And then our on-site maintenance, which a technician would be on site for us for 5-year total, is $551,545.08. And that will upgrade 27 workstations in all, 12 at the primary with 5 command posts that we have in the administrative offices, 12 at the backup center, and 2 at the Maryland State Police Barracks. And that would be 100% funded by the trust fund of the numbers board. No cost to the county.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, budget adjustment for the 40 West Truck Loading Station. Mr. Mason, welcome.
Good morning. here today to, for a motion to approve a budget adjustment for the 40 West Truck Loading Station. We are reducing the scope of the project tremendously to eliminate the overhead loading rack and new pump station building. We are going to upgrade the pumps and the pumps only at this point, so we're just going to do a budget adjustment to reduce the project by $470,000.
Motion to approve. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Mason? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, I believe, is the Washington County Mobile Home Park. I'd like to take a brief recess in case there was people coming to the audience to listen to that discussion. If I
big
Wait
fan. Love him.
Okay, all right, we're on. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to now begin with the Washington County Mobile Home Park Revenue Tax. Sarah and Todd, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. Well, I guess technically good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer.
And Todd Hershey, Washington County Treasurer.
Here today because the mobile home park tax in Washington County has been a topic of recent discussion brought forth by residents of the Lakeside Park. So this presentation today serves to provide some information related to the tax, how it's calculated, and the services that it pays for. The Washington County Mobile Home Park Tax has not been increased since 1963. It is 15% of the gross receipts charged by the mobile home park. And in the ARF is an example of how that tax is calculated, and it is to be payable by the park owner. Trailers located in trailer parks are not charged real property tax. However, trailers outside of trailer parks are assessed real property tax. Washington County government does provide many of the following to Lakeside residents. Road and bridge networks throughout the county, services of the Sheriff's Office, 911 services, fire and EMS services, transit system, the court system, the election system, the health department, the senior center, Commission on Aging, schools, libraries, county sewer and city water, landfill, animal control, and parks and recreation. And the mobile home park tax does result in approximately $550,000 to $600,000 in annual revenue. We would like to open this up for discussion if the commissioners have questions related to the mobile home park tax that either Todd or myself can answer for you.
The first question I had, which was brought up a couple times, is people in KOA campgrounds or Yogi Bear or any of the other campgrounds. I know they don't pay this 15% tax, but I'm assuming that they are paying the hotel motel tax. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Correct, Commissioner. On the fixtures, building improvements that are permanently affixed to the ground, plumbing, permanently attached to the ground. So they're the camping cabins that you may be familiar with.
The next thing that I do have to bring up, in the ARF, your example, I guess reinforces my question here, but according to the two statements that we received today, and then also if we look back on this, it says basic rent, and I'm just going to look at, I assume you've seen this one, from August 23rd, 2019, basic rent of $444, and then the tax of $66.60, which would be 15% of the $440, for the total monthly amount of $510.60. According to your ARF and my understanding, that we're supposed to be collecting 15% of the gross monthly amount, which if we look at that, the $510.60, which we're supposed to be collecting the 15% from the person, that would be $76.59 of a tax that we should be receiving instead of the $66.60, because this is being paid from the gross amount that the park owner is receiving and paid from the park, not an add-on tax to a rent that the person should be paying. From how the ARF reads and how my understanding of that is something that I would like to look into, because I don't think it's being done properly.
I think you have a valid point based on the way the resolution is written, so probably additional discussion, maybe with legal, should occur. It is based on gross monthly charges, which would be the gross amount that they received per month for these from their units.
And to follow up on that, I believe it was a responsibility historically for the mobile home operator to pay the 15% tax, that the mobile home operators would charge residents a set fee, and then the mobile home operator would pay 15% of what they received from the resident to the county for the tax.
Do we know when Lakeside adjusted their statements? Do we have any clue of that? Well,
When they,
When they started separating the
breaking out the
tax.
tax assessment.
didn't you say the residents paid directly and then somehow it got shifted to Lakeside?
No, Lakeside since 1963, this is a tax on Lakeside.
At
But
some point, they
some
started
point-
to separate the tax, the
That's what I-
15% out on the bill.
Correct.
And then,
Separate line item on the bill, they
right, but I'm
established.
not sure when that occurred.
I know there was a transition period around the year 2000 where there was lengthy discussion and I think reimbursements to Lakeside residents for perhaps utilities. I'm not sure, but it could have been at that point around year 2000 where the line item may have started appearing on the bill.
I knew there was never came up today, but since you brought up utilities, you reminded me. One of the individuals called me and said they get charged $4.50 quarter for meter reading on the utility, and from what I understand is they can't charge an additional fee for them reading the meters since how it's supposed to be done. Can we?
I'm not.
Who reads the meters? Lakeside?
Lakeside's reading the individual meters. So, and from my understanding, I guess they're not, the utility's allowed to charge a fee, but they're not allowed to charge an additional fee.
Okay,
But if we could look into that.
okay.
I don't know if that fee is included in the base residential fee.
It
or
doesn't
not.
sound like, it sounds like that comes on their quarterly utility bill.
Okay, we don't see those invoices.
Hey, just for my clarification on where it says the item we were given, it said 444 basic rent, 6660 tax, 510 total. So we're saying that 15% goes off of the 510.60?
Yes, that was Commissioner Meinelschmidt's point, is that if you look at this closely and you read the resolution, it appears that the gross monthly charges would be the 51060 in which the tax would be paid on.
Well, 15% of 444 is 6660, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then you just add that 6660 back in there and take it times 15%? Is that what we're saying?
No, look at it like the ARF. If they charge $400 a month per rent, then, 350 units, they get $140,000 times 15%, that's $21,000.
Well, that would tell me they're not collecting enough tax then, and we got more tax coming to us.
That is correct. That is, yeah.
Okay, just clarification.
I have a question, if I could.
Sure.
I think mobile homes are tended to be in the classification of affordable housing, a little more economical for some individuals. The total taxes that would pay, this example that we were given of $799.20 over a year, and any taxes that might be collected, I guess indirectly from the tenant for the lot. The land has value that the mobile home park pays taxes on. How does that amount compare to a typical home on a foundation, a non-mobile home, and how that might be taxed? Do you have any information on that? So are the taxes that we are collecting, is it in line with affordable housing, lower cost housing?
It is equivalent to about an $80,000 property.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. So as Sarah pointed out, for $766 or $800 per month rounded up, at roughly 1% property tax, that would be an $80,000 property.
And in addition to that, residents of mobile home parks are eligible to receive the state of Maryland renters tax credit for, if they are low income and struggling. So I think that's important to understand.
A brief summary, how does that work?
I'll leave that to Todd.
That's administered by the state of Maryland in the same manner as the homeowners tax credit program, where low-income people, it looks at your income, looks at your total amount of rental payments over a one-year period, and calculates whether or not you may be eligible for a credit. And those credits are issued directly from the state of Maryland to the residents. I would say my guess is participation is very minimal. We try to promote the renter's tax credit program for mobile home residents as well as anyone renting real estate property, but the participation is less than where it should be.
Can I make a slight adjustment? on the calculation. We're looking, calling $800 a year, that, 80,000. But what we did not take into consideration, which, Wayne, is the unapproved lot, so the actual lot that they're paying. And Lakeside pays about, I think it's $140,000 of property tax divided by 511 lots. That's another $274 a year that is being accrued in taxes. So I would make the adjustment that it's more closer to a $100,000 home than an $80,000 home.
I understand what you're saying.
So let me go back again, because I'm still processing here. When I made the statement that they're not paying enough taxes, Lakeside may not be paying the county enough of taxes, even though, according to what's presented, the homeowner who's in here asking for help is paying what he's supposed to pay according to this, but he's being charged too much. Is that correct? Is that a good statement? Or
The way I would suggest it is the $510.60 is we're not getting remitted the amount of tax from Lakeside that we should be remitted. They're charging the $510.60. We should be getting more, so they're actually saving on to a portion of the taxes that the county is owed.
So 15% of the 510 is $76, and the amount that they're remitting is the 66 that they've charged the mobile homeowner.
And Commissioner Armando-Smith, in that example where you said, yes, the Lakeside is paying real estate property taxes based on a commercial assessment, if you use that example, that means that Lakeside is transferring all property tax obligations onto the homeowner. If you use that $1,000 figure as opposed to the $700 figure, that means Lakeside would not be incurring any real estate property taxes, and that they're putting it all on the backs of the residents.
They're putting it all on the homeowner.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's typical of any landlord.
That's true.
Yeah, you want to make
factor their real estate taxes in on their monthly rent.
Exactly, and that's what this program calculates. 15% of what you pay in rental payments is theoretically going to your taxes.
But they're not paying enough. They meaning Lakeside.
Lakeside does.
Yeah, I have to clarify. I'm not talking about the homeowner.
Tenant.
I'm about Lakeside.
No, technically Lakeside's paying the tax.
Lakeside rates the check, but they collect it in their monthly lot rent.
But that's just like any commercial lease or
Exactly.
anything else.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Lakeside pays it, but they collect it from the tenants.
So,
Options? What do we do from here? Sarah, you're on the spotlight. What do we do from here?
Well, commissioners, it's up to you. I mean, the 15% mobile home tax has not increased since 1963. The county does provide services and will continue to provide services, and we'll need a way to pay for those services. So,
is there an option that we could charge the tax based on the assessed value of the mobile home versus the rent that they're paying?
That would be nice. It's not the policy of the State Department of Assessments and Taxation, however. Any two or less mobile homes are taxed in that manner where the assessment office does go out and look at the real estate. But
I'm just trying to
more
think
than
of
two.
options.
Yeah, okay.
Right now, an example, one of the gentlemen's paying $750 rounded off a year, right? Okay, so what if you say, okay, now instead of $750, you only have to pay us $600? How does that, can that happen?
well, it depends. It would depend how you would be proposing to change and reduce that. And then you'll also have to consider what other funding would be increased to offset that reduction in revenue that the county.
I haven't seen, in all years of real estate, I haven't seen hardly anything that's as low as $700 a month taxes, or a year, I'm sorry. So I'm not proposing really any kind of a huge break, but it's Todd. How many have you seen $700 or $800 a year? They're few and far between. Even
Yeah, we see bills like that, but they have tax credits.
Yeah, exactly.
There are programs out there from the state of Maryland and Washington County Commissioners supplemented with a senior supplement for these homeowners tax credits. So, you've done your work, right. $700 for the services that they receive in Washington County seems very low to me.
Is there a number to try to quantify the credit that you mentioned they're eligible for? Is there a rough number that may generate for them in a reduction?
For
Is that-
the tax credit program, for the Maryland Renters Tax Credit Program.
Right.
I mean, the program's available for low-income individuals, and the calculation for eligibility is based on the assumption of the 15% of the rent that is applied towards these taxes, correct, Todd?
Well, that is correct. I'm trying to get an example for you, but.
Yeah.
Would the,
What I was curious is if what you're saying would approach Commissioner Wagner's effectively reducing the rate for them if they qualify for that program.
I think that would be the determining factor if they qualify and meet those low-income limits.
And if we may be able to help Lakeside and other parks promote that through sharing the information with them in a more ambitious tone.
is that tax credit received through filing an income tax return?
Yes.
So if someone's only income is maybe Social Security, maybe a small pension, they may not have to file an income tax return to begin with. So would they
Right.
be eligible for that credit?
Yes.
They would have to go through the process of filing a return.
Even if they don't file an
just
income
to get
tax
that
return.
credit.
Yes.
Okay.
Getting back to Commissioner Randall's comment, I'm not sure we can dictate to the mobile home operators a fee, telling them what to pay per pad, if that's what I heard you say.
No, you didn't. I
Okay.
just said, well, I'm looking at options, like, is there a potential reduction to the mobile owner? And then again, on the other hand, is still only, I say not only, but that's a lot of money to some people, $750 a year. But that's, if we can get that reduced through what Rob just mentioned, that might be the way to go. I mean, I guess what I asked is, okay, say we want to give them a break. It sounds like Lakeside owes us some money. That's what it sounds like. A, would anybody agree with that?
I think we need to look in more detail.
Right, okay. So B, what if we, and I use that loosely, what I heard is that someone wasn't paying enough taxes being the park. So I'm not saying that's absolute until you guys substantiate that. But what if, say, for instance, everybody has a kind heart and say, just give us, the guy that's paying $750, let's give us $600. That's what I said.
So the best thing for the mobile home park owner to do is come in and ask for a pilot payment in lieu of taxes like was issued to Bethel Garden. And then they could keep their taxes at a flat rate for 40 years.
What's your option, Terry? Tell me, what would you like to do?
That was a federal pilot, wasn't it?
Give me a plan. I'm struggling here.
But I'm just thinking, if I own the land that the mobile homes are setting on, aren't they paying tax on that land?
Yes.
140,000.
Based on revenue through the assessment office, accumulates those figures and determines the assessed
So
value.
you're telling me Lakeside's taxes are based on revenue solely?
Real estate property taxes.
So they have an assessed value, and they pay based on their property tax rate.
Yes.
Correct?
Well, Terry, we don't do the assessment function in the treasurer's office. That's something for Melissa Adelsberger in the assessment office. But I don't know if there's some variable in there per pad as well as revenue. I don't know that.
I guess I'm trying to figure out.
They're taxed as a commercial enterprise as if the property were vacant.
They are taxed as a commercial property, that's true.
They're not taxed on the value of the
Improvement.
trailers that
Improvement,
they have
yeah.
at the park.
That's correct.
So if I own, well, the homes that I own, I have a tax rate that I pay based on my assessed value. So why aren't we assessing their homes and they're paying their taxes based on the assessed value of their home?
Yeah, with the right to appeal, and it's not the policy of the state assessment
I
office. So,
understand, but it may
yeah.
be less than what this guy has paid, $66.60, multiplied times 12. I doubt many of those homes out there are worth, and I'm not going to speculate what they're worth, but just as individual homes. So I don't know why we're not taxing them based on the true value of their home.
We, as Washington County, cannot
No, I
tax
understand
them.
that. I
Okay.
understand that.
Yep.
Their rises.
It
It's a
can't be
state
done, so
function.
we got to move on, right?
Yeah.
It can be done, but they would have to go through,
State legislature.
so our state legislators need to be involved to see if there's something that they can come up with. So this is more of a state issue
Maybe that's a good topic for
than a county issue, I would think.
in a few minutes from now.
But before we leave this issue, if you would, Commissioners, two potential reductions in cost to perhaps even the gentlemen that were here. One would be the renter's assistance reduction, and two would be another program that was mentioned, and I failed to catch that I believe you said.
I did mention the renter's tax credit.
I mentioned the senior supplement, which is related to real estate property taxes. It does not relate to the renter's tax credit
But
program.
it would apply to the situation in which Terry mentioned, if you owned the lot. So if you owned the lot, it would apply to in that case.
Yes.
Okay. So in other words, there are applications for both situations, and perhaps that is, even if other actions are taken, perhaps that is an opportunity here for us to promote that with the trailer parks and certainly the two gentlemen that had to leave earlier.
The gentlemen that have been in here last couple weeks now, they've shared with us, I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before, it looks like Baltimore County nixed their taxes, but they were taxing at 7% and they had a cap. Do we know what other counties charge? Is 15% high among what the counties charge? I mean, I'm kind of surprised that, maybe I'm not surprised, we charge more than Baltimore County. Is 15%, where do we rank among other counties?
I don't have that information.
We could bring that back to you.
Okay, and this county provided a cap of $20 per month. They're not saying that's the right number for us, but it looks like at some point in time, Baltimore County experienced maybe an outcry among their citizens as well, and there's a feelings that maybe it was double dipping, reading the quote here. So if we could look and see what other counties do, I think that would be helpful for me.
Yeah, there could be a lot of different verbiage in those other counties. It'd be sort of interesting. They could be, we're just hearing about the numbers. I guess in summary for me, I guess I'd want to hear, has the park been collecting and paying according to what they're supposed to? And that would get that part done. And then, I think we have to start there. I mean, is everything being collected and distributed properly? Sounds like there's some question to that.
I do like the idea of some type of cap or limit. I'd prefer if there was a way that we could do an assessed value. I think that's the best way to go. Should talk to our delegation about that. That's why I asked that question. Hey, is there a way we could do? But we do need to figure out something, and I don't know where we're at.
And regardless of what ideas and what our thoughts are and how we would like to proceed, it still has to go through the delegation, correct? Regardless of what we want to do.
Kirk, that's an ordinance.
I mean, you can change the ordinance, you can repeal it, you can amend it, you can change the rates. But if you're gonna mandate that there be a different assessment method for mobile homes in trailer parks, then yeah, you're gonna require some type of state legislation or policy change at the Department of Assessments and Taxation.
Plus, I think the homeowners start. The first thing they can do is explore the rental assistance.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I'd be doing if I was them.
They can do that
They might
today.
save a couple $100 until we figure something out.
I kind of personally don't like the idea of just referring people to, well, there's assistance programs. We did that back in the springtime. I wonder how likely is it for us to change this if it requires a state approval? This one mobile home park alone has, what did we say, 500?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, 500 mobile homes, and we have other mobile home parks. I mean, the assessment office might need another staff member or two to go out and personally inspect and visualize those properties to put in assessment.
They're not, that's not consistent with their policy, so they're not going to entertain that until they get told to do so by the state. I guess the $700 figure, I mean, we do want everyone to pay their fair share. We all have an obligation. It's our civic responsibility to pay taxes. And, $700 sounds high to some, low to others. You think about folks renting properties in the city of Hagerstown that are subject to municipal tax, or any municipality subject to municipal tax as well as county and state tax. So
You surely can't go anywhere else and get it for less money. I mean, the gentleman himself said the police were out there every time he turned around. I mean, that's sort of comforting.
Is 700 an accurate figure, or is it closer to 1,000? Just taking the numbers that were given to us today on his statement, he pays $800 a year in taxes. He pays directly $800 a year, I guess, for this mobile home tax. And then if we take Commissioner Montelschmidt's calculation of $274 for what the lot would be taxed at, that's being paid for by the tenant indirectly through the rent. So really, it's more of $1,000 a year.
it is part of that state tax. I mean, if you factor out the state Maryland real estate property tax, that pulls out $16,000 out of that bulk figure, 500 to 17,000. So the $700 figure is based on just Washington County real estate property tax.
All right, is there any more questions or input? Do you have some direction on?
I have direction to investigate what other counties do, what percentage they may charge.
And any caps?
And any caps. And then dig into a little bit deeper the gross monthly receipts conversation and what is being remitted by the park. And then, of course, we have the renter's tax credit that we can share that information with the current.
We could also look into that. I think it was $4.50 utility fee for reading the meter.
Yes, I have that here as well.
Okay, I'd like this to come back on our agenda in the near future as soon as possible, not to rush you, but this is a passionate issue for those folks, so I like to let them know we're paying attention.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Commissioners, any other questions? Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, Claggett's Mill. Mr. Downey?
I'd invite Jason and Steve to come forward if they'd like.
Please introduce yourself, folks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Sianovich. I'm with Fox and Associates. We are representing the developer of the Claggett's Mill subdivision.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jason Wiley. I'm with Elm Street Development, and I'm here representing the developer and owner of the property, which is Claggett's Mill LLC and now Claggett's Farm LLC. Thank you for having us here again, as you've focused on this issue several times.
If you recall, this matter was presented several months ago. Claggett's Mill is a property, developing a property off of Hoffenberger Road. This development started over a decade ago, and at that time, the development conditions were very different, as well as the taxing and regulatory structures in Washington County. As a condition of them receiving approval to move forward with development, they had to enter a mitigation agreement for the APFO schools adequacy test, and that agreement was entered into in April of 2007. And as a consequence of that agreement, they were required to make a certain payment per lot that would address the school adequacy deficiency. At this point in time, or I should say after they entered into that agreement, some years passed. Obviously, we had the Great Recession, and then there were some changes made to the way the county provided for mitigation of APFO schools issues. If you recall, there was something entered into or amended into the ordinance called the alternate mitigation contribution that provides under certain contributions a formula where developers can calculate what their school contribution should be and allows them to make that payment and move forward with the development. At the time, and when Elm Street received their initial improvement, that option wasn't available. It is now, and based on their numbers as well as the school numbers, they would qualify for the alternate mitigation contribution if they were coming in today seeking approval to develop it. As pointed out in Jason's letter, the fact that they are operating under the existing APFO agreement that was contemplated in different economic times and different regulatory environments places them, in their opinion, at a competitive disadvantage to other developers operating today. So they have asked essentially that the APFO schools agreement be rescinded and of no further force and effect, which would mean, of course, that they would just proceed under the alternate mitigation contribution provisions of the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance.
The AMC, did we look at if we can do that, change it from a 13-year to a 14-year?
We can change it. It is established by a resolution that was adopted by the board. The resolution specifically says that that variable in the equation is 13 years. So we'd have to adopt a new resolution changing that, or else providing flexibility.
Of the homes that I guess you intend to build over time, could you remind me again, I don't know if we asked this the last time, what's the average selling price you're looking at for the home, like narrowed down, like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes?
In general, we're still pretty preliminary with our plans here. I mean, I would say that kind of in the range you quote was, I think in the existing community, we have up, probably from 1,800 square foot houses up to probably 5,000 or more. And so clearly there'll be a range based on size and specifications and that kind of thing. But I mean, I think clearly the market, the intent would be to build, something comparable to what is built there now. And the market will sort of determine the prices. But I think in the, generally our experience up at recently at Maple Valley, we've been selling kind of starting in the high, maybe 260s or so up to, average maybe the low 300s.
And does your plan, how much does it deviate from the prior developer back in 2007 as far as density of housing? Are you adding more homes? Are you adding more condos, townhomes? What's the density change, if any?
Actually, excuse me, the developer originally was the same gentleman, Jason Wiley, from the beginning. When the project was first contemplated, there was development on the north side and the south side of Poffenberger Road. Originally, when it was approved under, I believe it was a 2004, 2005 plan, there were 238 lots proposed, which was the sum of the north side and the south side of Poffenberger Road. When some changes were made to the zoning districts in that area, we revised the plan to increase the yield to 264 lots. We were able to lessen the lot sizes and get a few more on both the north side and the south side of the road. The developer has since abandoned any efforts to develop the north side of the road. So the total number of lots on the south side of the road is 148 total. Of that 148 number, 48 lots are currently platted, and I believe 47 of the lots are already built upon and owner occupied. So the final plat that we're working on now would create 100 lots, which would be the balance of the development on the south side of Poffenberger Road. So to answer your question, should the job move forward today, the total yield would be 148, 47 of which are already built upon, and 48 of which are already platted, final platted, excuse me.
Okay. So 148 versus what, about a decade ago or so?
Well, quite honestly, I don't remember the distribution.
More or less?
It would probably be close to the same. Again, it was 238 originally for both the north and south half. That 238 was increased to 264. Again, north and south half of Poffenberger Road. And now our proposed yield's 148. And it's, generally speaking, there wasn't really a huge change, and quite frankly, there may not have been a change at all from the 264 layout of the project to what we're proposing today, should we separate the north half and south half of the roadway.
But to answer your other part of your question, it's all single-family homes still. That zoning district is single-family down there, so it's similar in character to what the existing is.
The reasoning for this is to reduce price, right? Because you don't feel like you're competitive with, not reduce price, but be more competitive with the price of the house, right? Because this fee is adding cost. That's the whole reasoning behind this. It's not that you hate taxes.
Make money.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's clearly, actually, Steve and Jill did a great job a couple weeks ago outlining the history, and it is news to me actually that there were some other of these agreements that have been sort of evolved into this new structure. So clearly our aim is just to, like we did before, follow the rules of the road that were in place at that time. And so today we're just hoping to have a consistency with the way the rules are
But if you,
set out.
yeah, I'm just being devil's advocate here.
Sure.
If you would have paid, it's all dictated by total price. If you'd have paid, I don't know what you have, you figure for each lot, but if your land purchase, as you increase lots, that reduces your price. You know, you could, I guess hypothetically, we could turn around and say, okay, we're going to waive this, but now you're more competitive because you got a lot less money per lot.
Well, I think there's no argument with what you're saying. I mean, I think it's clearly just the amount of the fee that was in the past was just based on different economics that were sort of out there.
Right.
And we wish it was still the past in a lot of ways with that element. But today, that fee is just a really major component. It wouldn't be able to be absorbed with all the other costs that have to go into it and still be competitive, as you mentioned. So.
Now that fee, Rob, maybe you can answer that fee. That's you're still paying. Is the excise tax included in that? Or are they still paying $1 a square foot? Yeah. To the total, for everything total, yeah.
So the 48 lots that you said have already been plotted, have you paid the 13,000 on those? When is the 13,000?
Yeah, those were paid before the permits. I think they were due maybe at the plats, and then there was a second fee at the permit. So those were paid in the past. It was a little bit.
All those lots already?
I think there's 47 houses, and those have paid all of the additional fees in the past. But it was some was at, like I would say, there's one lot that was platted that's intended to be like the future model home, and it paid the 9,000, but it would still have to pay the excise tax again. So I guess we're really kind of just focused on the 100 to go for the future and what the scenario would be with the fee, because it's paid at the record plat. So that's
Those 48 lots were platted when, did you say?
2006, I think.
2007, they were done in two groups, a grouping of 40 and then a second plat with a group of 8. I believe it was 2007.
They paid that tax at that time.
That's correct.
You're not asking for that money to be refunded?
No.
No, we aren't.
So you have 100 lots out there that you want forgiveness of the $13,000 per lot.
We have 100 lots that we're requesting that the AMC be used to determine the obligation for school mitigation.
What did you say we had to do to AMC 14 years to make just another ordinance, right, or resolution, or?
Have to adopt a new resolution updating that figure. Is this in a school district that's served with pre-K?
No, they're all going to be starting.
It's like 300 or 400 students right now, isn't it, in Washington County? Pre-K.
I'm comfortable doing this as long as we move that AMC from 13 years to 14 years, because we're implementing pre-K across everybody in the county, and this is money that's going to be going towards building schools, and we're looking at building, according to the Board of Ed, 4 new elementary schools in the next 10 years. So.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too, actually.
Got a motion?
guess it's open for discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it up.
Just to clarify, going from 13 to 14,
It's
you're talking about the number of grade levels pretty much. including
Correct.
pre-K.
Yeah, because that's all it's saying, because right now it's under 13 years, which are saying 12 years plus kindergarten. Well, we have 12 years plus kindergarten plus pre-K. And so that's, when they're talking about the student grade level, I think that just, since that's where we're pushing, making things even, that makes sense to me. And it's still a significant discount. I mean, it's a nominal charge, but that's something that we do need to look at.
I don't know if just to make a point, I think this is really kind of just, in my understanding, it's kind of a step. We're just taking one step to be able to, in the future, be able to pay whatever the rules of the road is for everybody else.
Yep.
And so if you change it to everybody else, that's fine. I mean, because we're not necessarily what's on this page. If we wait a year to plat or whatever, we'll just have to do what the formula
Exactly.
is then. So that's what we're just asking, to be able to go forward under that assumption.
So you're the manager, who's the owner?
I think manager is really kind of just a form of legal term for in the entity who can sign things, basically. So
who officially owns all this?
well, we have, I guess, even on the original one, there's Elm Street. If you look on our website, which I think might be on one of these things, my eyes aren't as good, but it kind of goes over our John Clark, who I worked for, and I think was around some of the things when you were going through this in 2007 or so, is still works with me, and we have David Flanagan as our president, and so we're active.
I'm hearing you're going to be selling this development.
Well, we have a builder that we're in discussion with. It's still in a study period, and there's nothing that's firm. They basically need to know some certainty about what the fees and all the rest of it's going to be. I mean, there's going to be year or more of development work and the rest of it before you even get into marketing homes. So obviously, we're still in the middle of the process, even though it's been since 2003. I think we've been working on this. So it's still got a lot of years left ahead, but. Yeah, we're a developer, and so we team up with a builder to do, the building construction.
Commissioners, thoughts, comments?
All right. Any other comments?
I'd like to hear your motion.
I just want to move to approve the dissolution of the APFO agreement so that Clackamas Mill can be on equal ground. But at the same time, I want to move to have the AMC ordinance updated as soon as possible before any other developments happen.
I would second that.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Are our only options to either keep the fee or eliminate it? Can we reduce it if we wanted to? For example, I'm looking at our notes from the last time we met when we talked about the APFO ordinance fee on September 24th. And the three schools that are served in this are each at over 100% state rated capacity, it looks like. So, I mean, we need to realize this is going to put a strain on those schools in the school system. Is there an option to maybe reduce it but not totally eliminate it? So it helps them become more competitive. Trying to get the best of both worlds here. We got to look out for the future growth of our county. That's I think an area that's seeing a lot of development. I think we had the State Transportation Administration here last week talking about improvements to that area that are needed. That's on our priority list. So where's that funding coming from?
Can that be done? I'm hesitant to say yes. Obviously, this agreement was entered into under a different version of the ordinance. They're contractually bound by it now. There is no provision, and Steve, jump in here, but there's no provision in the ordinance currently that would allow for what you're suggesting.
To modify a current agreement? I don't recall one. There are provisions still in the APFO to allow, we call this a custom-made agreement, and in the case where the proposed development would push the school over 120%, then you go to these custom-made agreements. But I don't believe the ordinance addresses whether you can modify a current custom-made agreement. It doesn't say you can or you can't.
The custom-made agreement applies when the alternate mitigation contribution does not apply, is not applicable. Now, could they contractually agree to something less in between to modify it? I suppose that they could.
All right, any more questions? Have first and a second on the floor.
Is there any desire to maybe negotiate with them a little bit?
I guess my only thing is, my question is if they were, from my understanding, if this was a new development coming out right now, and this didn't happen 10 years ago, and this was new development, they'd be under the AMC and not the APFO. Am I right by that? Yes. So what's strangling them is that they didn't develop this property 10 years ago. And if the goal of us is to, have an area that we think should be developed and it's being developed by builders and growing that tax base, then we want to see them develop it. And this isn't going to get developed with this APFO. It's just too high of a fee. And if they were starting it new, it would be under the AMC. And that's where I think it needs to be fair. I don't want to charge somebody a higher fee just because they entered a contract 10 years ago.
That contract was entered into in good faith. And we can't make adjustments to that current contract, but we can eliminate it. So I would think we should at least be able to make adjustments to it, or at least enter or attempt to make an adjustment to it. As he stated, our schools are over capacity in that area.
Well, that's why, that was one of the reasons why I'm trying to get the AMC from 13 years to 14 years.
That.
I think that just makes sense.
So when you talk about, so what's the difference in collections? So what are we going to collect from? How much more are we going to gain by going to the 14-year agreement versus the 13-year APFO agreement?
I can answer that. Per unit increase, if we go to 14 years, the number of years is a multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go from 13 years, multiplying the number by 13 to multiplying it by 14, for single-family developments, the fee goes up by about $220 per unit. Right now it's $2,890, couple dollars per unit. It would go up to about $3,100 per unit if you use the 14-year phase.
Okay, we have any more discussion? We have a motion on the floor, first and a second. Those in favor of supporting it, say aye.
I have one more comment, if that's all right. I think that, because you said good faith, I think they've been in good faith. I mean, they paid the fees for the 47 houses, so it's been in good faith for the 47. But because of the economy and scale, then there's no more growth. And the good faith is, hey, here's the agreement. I'm going to give you nothing because I'm not building it. Or we try to get something.
I agree with that. We try to get something.
And that's what
I would agree to maybe 50% of what the original fee would be. I wouldn't agree to eliminating it altogether. I think, there were a lot of people in 2006 that bought homes that 2-3 years later were underwater tremendously. And, I don't think it's our job necessarily. Are we going to do something to make those people whole as well? That's not necessarily, I don't think, what we should do.
What's the tax per home under the APFO?
Sorry.
What's the tax per home under the APFO, or this fee, the APFO fee?
Oh, well, I mean, I think, if you're around $1 or whatever, I mean, you're going to be, if it's a $300,000 house, you're going to be paying $3,000 all in for taxes. But that, obviously, somebody pays income tax and that.
No, I'm just talking about
the
the APF. So the
APFO. It's really about the 2,800 plus if it went up a little bit, 200 plus it's, you pay the excise tax on top of that. So it's going to be, well, the AMC, I guess, is what.
And what would the AMC tax be on instead of the APFO fee?
That was the figure I just mentioned, about $3,100 per unit.
Okay, so we're going 22,000 to 3,100 would be a new development, and
Plus the excise tax.
Plus
at
the-
$1.
It's about 6,000 or so.
how much?
It's about 6,000 total.
So 6,000. So it could be, we're getting close to 50% of the fee then.
So do we have any other developments out there that have entered into a contract to pay upwards towards $13,000 per lot that are still continuing to pay that amount of money and building.
There are other, I think there are 6 or 7 other agreements like this that are sort of on hold. We haven't had anyone approach us about changing it, but there are also at least 2 that had agreements like this one that have been rescinded, and those developers have been allowed to pay the current AMC. So we have people in both situations.
So, but if we went from this to that, we're right around that 50% mark that Commissioner Kiver, you were talking about. Well, if you had take the $3,000 plus the excise tax together, you're getting right around $10,000, and this is 22, so you're getting close to that 50%. Since the APFO, you're not paying the excise, is what I'm understanding. You're paying the APFO instead.
You actually pay both of them.
Oh, so that's at 32 then, would be the total amount.
With changing the number of years from 13 to 14, as Steve Goodrich explained, the AMC would go to roughly $3,100.
Yeah.
If we assume that the dwelling to be built and the habitable square footage is 3,000 feet is a made-up number at $1 square foot, that would actually yield roughly $6,100 per unit that would need to be paid. The original agreement, was $22,000 a unit, $22,000 a lot. With the AMC coupled with the excise, based on our assumption of a 3,000 square foot habitable area, we'd be at $6,100.
So it's a third, I apologize.
All right, Commissioners, there's a motion on the floor.
And we have approved dissolutions like this before?
Yes. Just to clarify my understanding of the motion, it is that to dissolve, rescind the agreement effective upon the board's adoption of a resolution updating the variables in the AMC formula.
That would be my motion that I.
And that includes that 14 years?
Yeah, that's what we started, the 13 to 14 years.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. It's been clarified. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
3 to 2.
agree with the 14-year. I think that is a
Thank you for that comment. 3 to 2, it passes as stated. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question to clarify? If do we know timing of would you intend to go forward with some, because it sounded like we're a little bit of a in between then if we
I think that needs to be done quickly, to get the 13 years to 14 years. I'd like to see that quickly, because if we have any other developments coming in line, I want to make sure we're getting that amount.
We're talking weeks rather than months.
Okay. That AMC, as you're all aware, is paid prior to final plat approval. So unless we were able to produce a final plat approval quicker than the resolution, then I think we're going to be bound to the 14 in lieu of the 13.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Next on our agenda, potential legislative items. Mr. Downey.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you know, each year my office reaches out to county staff to identify, county staff and commissioners to identify items that may require the attention of the General Assembly. Generally, these are county-specific items that would require a local bill or additional authority from the General Assembly. We have identified certain items that may be worthy of discussion. Again, these are ideas only, subject to your desires to either advance them or remove them from the list. The first one is a Medicaid reimbursement billing authority. This is something that Commissioner Mino-Schmidt has identified as an issue. I put it on this list as a placeholder so that we don't forget about it. I don't know that this is necessarily a Washington County bill or whether this is a statewide bill or a MACO initiative. I would appreciate further direction as to as to what the idea may be behind that. But essentially, if I understand the concept, this would allow for additional revenues for EMS companies when they, it would provide them authority to bill Medicaid when they provide services to Medicaid
Well,
individuals.
they currently already bill Medicaid. The difference is Washington County, or state of Maryland, gets $100 per Medicaid bill. Doesn't matter if it's an ALS or BLS call, and it doesn't matter mileage, it's $100 per bill. Where Pennsylvania gets $300 for a ALS call, $150 for a BLS call plus mileage. West Virginia gets $377.50 no matter what it is, plus mileage for Medicaid billing. So the goal is to get us somewhere around, and just as an example, CRS, about 50% of CRS's calls are Medicaid calls. And so every call that they get out on Medicaid, we actually lose money on, even though we're getting that whopping $100. Other examples are if you're in Morgansville and the first responder is, in that area and they're Washington County, they bill $100. If that first responder is Greencastle, they get charged the $300 just because somebody from Pennsylvania went and brought them to Meritus. So because they were from.
And that's based on that Morgansville or CRS is on another call. So the next available closest unit is probably Greencastle.
Exactly. So that's just the
So if Pennsylvania services come to Washington County and transport a Washington County citizen, they get their full billing of $300.
Exactly. Yep.
But we would only get.
We would only get 100.
And if we go to Pennsylvania.
We only get 100.
Wow.
Because that's what's and it's a quasi pass through. There, we've been doing research on it, trying to figure out when it was last updated and changed. But it's what I've looked at it is if we went from $100 to $200 and not even including mileage, which I do believe mileage needs to be included, because if you look at areas like Hancock, that's a lot of mileage. But just going from $100 to $200 is about $450,000 in Medicaid billing to our companies. But back to your original question, I have been on MACO about this, trying to make this a statewide issue, because if it's just Washington County, we know it's not going to happen. When we're at MACO, I did have a lot of the counties that were very interested in this. Of the 24 counties, including Baltimore City, 20 do bill. So there are 4 counties that this would have no real effect to, but the other 20, it has major.
What I'm hearing you saying is we would submit this to the local delegation to be submitted as a statewide bill.
Correct. That's the goal.
That means they would reach out and draw the other elected officials across this state to sign on for support.
Exactly. But this is something that I think we need to keep pushing, because if we don't push, then, as everybody knows, it eventually will just fall on the side. So we got to make sure we stay on top of this one.
Mr. Downey, what next do you have?
Second is to reinstate a requirement for zoning certification prior to issuance of a business license. The law used to be that before the clerk of the circuit court could issue a business license, the applicant had to show up with a zoning certification, which would be an indication that the proposed use was allowed by the zoning regulations of the county. Several years ago, that requirement was removed from state law. What the plan review and permitting staff has found is that now we are seeing instances where businesses are being established, they're receiving business license from the clerk of the court without any type of consultation with the zoning authorities. And in some cases, we have businesses that are operating in areas where they are not allowed, which of course creates public relations as well as an enforcement problem for the county. Obviously, these are already established businesses. They think that they've complied, and then we have to show up and say, what you're doing here, you really can't do. There may be leases in place. It just seems very reasonable that you avoid all of those issues if you require the presentation of a zoning certification prior to the issuance of a business license.
So it sounds like a couple years ago you say we reversed course. Was that a county decision, a state decision, not to require zoning?
Knowing some of the history, if you don't mind if I jump in, at the time, being at 80 West Baltimore, yes, that was a county decision, a county request. It was intended to speed up the process. At the time, staff and others had some concern about it, that it would do exactly what Kirk has explained, and that is that now you have a legitimate business because they have their business license, but they're in an illegitimate spot, and because zoning falls upon our offices, the neighbors or others look at us and say, well, how could you let this happen? Well, in the past, we wouldn't, because the Z-cert, as you've heard it called, would be required for the business entity. The process worked well. It may have saved a few weeks in certain instances before. However, it's created 80 West Baltimore, particularly Ashley Holloway's office.
What if it's in a municipality? Would the municipality have to supply a letter or the documentation?
If they provide the zoning, and most of the municipalities that do, then it would be from their office, yes.
Kurt, any other comments? Not proceed.
Third item, a request to remove the requirement for a psychiatrist as a member of the Adult Public Guardianship Review Board. This came up because there was limited applicants who were interested in serving on that board and were also psychiatrists. So the request would be to remove that requirement and expand the pool of applicants so we can adequately staff the Adult Public Guardianship Review Board.
Is that also going to be more of a state issue? Because I remember in the meeting they said that it's difficult across the state to find psychiatrists on the board.
That's your determination. Our interest, of course, is just for Washington County.
Gotcha.
I think we could introduce it as a local bill, and if other people wanted to jump on, it could be expanded.
Okay.
Regulation of accidents on interstate highways. I'm going to ask Rob for some input on this, and Scott as well.
Scott may be our subject matter expert if there is one. Scott's done more considerable research. Basically, we have is it called Move It, Scott? Move It regulation, which is in place and adopted by the state. However, and the purpose of that is to say when there is a crash that we want to get the lanes back open as expediently as possible, safely, obviously, first. And we're finding that more collaboration is necessary to see that that's actually enacted. Incidents just lately that have been brought up and were brought up at MDOT when the interstates shut down for several hours. Teaming up with the state on this could help us save, perhaps reduce that time significantly in some situations.
Specifically, what legislation will we need to accomplish this?
I do believe last year the Secretary and Administrator Slater indicated that they were looking for the approval to move vehicles that were crashed, and there was some concern from commercial operators which said that may damage the vehicle. Meanwhile, miles of backup occur while we're concerned about a truck that's already rolled or tipped over or something. So to speak to what the county has done, the hazmat vehicle, taking fuel out of the tanks, trying to rush this clearance of the interstate back open. We're just looking for some teamwork here with other officials at the state level to move forward. So this may result in more discussion, but that's probably a very good discussion to have, given, as we said, the cost of interstate shutdowns, both to commercial and all others involved.
So that. So that's under development. It may ripen into specific legislation. It might be a further discussion item with state officials.
Next.
The last one is the Division of Correction Prisoner Release Policies. Commissioner Wagner mentioned this. I know that this has been a subject before. I believe Delegate Quarterman often introduces a bill addressing this issue. So this may be a situation where we simply acknowledge that we were in support of Delegate Quarterman's bill. If there's something further that you would like us to consider, we're certainly
I suspect Delegate Corbin is going to introduce it again.
I have not asked him, but I would expect that he would.
Yeah, then I agree, yeah. I just supported this.
That's all we would identified at this point. If there's anything else you'd like us to consider, we're happy to do so. Otherwise, we will continue to develop these and consider this the list for the discussion on
November 6th. So if you have any other suggestions, please get on. Kurt? All right, commissioners, any other comments? Hearing none, we'll reconvene to this evening meeting in town of Sisseburg, 6 p.m. Thank you.